A few months ago, I noticed that I had kind of fallen off in a lot of the things that made me happy, made me me. And this happened right after I turned 40. Now, I wasn't really that concerned about turning 40. I didn't think about turning 40 that much. To me, it was just another day. But I started to notice in October, November, December that I really wasn't doing a lot of the things that I felt were important, that I always looked at as important. In a lot of ways, I kind of felt like a fraud. I wasn't reading regularly. My diet had kind of turned to crap. I was eating a lot of sugar and eating a lot of snacks. And even my working out had kind of slacked in a lot of ways. Wasn't going to the gym that consistently, and just really overall wasn't following through on a lot of the things that I know internally I felt really important with. And I think I'm not alone in these things. And while I'm not the biggest believer of New Year's resolutions, we're here February 1st, 1 month into the new year. And I'm sure there's quite a few people that are taking stock of how the first month has gone. For me, a little bit before New Year's, I had a real conversation with myself. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's the truth. I sat down by myself. I kind of looked in the mirror and I said, Mike, you're gaining weight. You're not sleeping great. You haven't read a book in almost 3 months. Every time you pick up a book, you go one page. And every Sunday night, you're kind of annoyed at yourself that you wasted a weekend. You didn't do anything that you felt was productive. And I came across this video where Matthew McConaughey is doing a podcast and he's talking about he was tired of forgiving himself on a Sunday. He was tired of saying, I could get the forgiveness, but I was sick of doing it. I was sick of the things I was doing myself, and it mirrored a lot in me. I was sick of the things I was doing. I was sick of sleeping like crap. I was sick of feeling like crap, and I was sick of not living up to my potential or setting a good example for my boys in that way. And one thing that I kept coming back to was my main issue was I believed I needed to be perfect. Now, that might sound ridiculous, and trust me, I think it sounds ridiculous. But just hear me out for a second. Anytime that I've been perfect with something, whether it's a diet, exercise routine, even at work, for a certain period of time, I know I'm making progress. If I was perfect with my diet, I was tracking every single thing I ate, I know I would lose weight. If I was following a routine for exercise, going almost every day, getting in the steps, I knew I was getting more fit. I knew that was a guarantee. And the same thing with reading. If I was reading at least 20 pages a day, I knew no matter what, I was finishing those books and I was learning things. And the problem that I always have, that I think a lot of us have, is when life gets in the way of perfect. For me, the wheels would come off and I would just start to let these little habits go. I'd eat an extra cookie. I'd eat 5 extra cookies. I'd eat a sleeve of Oreos. I would not look at my book. I would not even finish it. I'd be like, oh, you know what? I'll just watch an episode of this, which turns into 3. Oh, I'm too tired. I don't want to go to the gym today. I'll go tomorrow. Tomorrow was always my favorite excuse with most things, as I think we all are. And so this last month, what I did to change that was I stopped trying to be so goddamn perfect. I started realizing that while perfection might be enticing, especially for me, because perfection means you follow a plan and the plan's there, and guess what? If you follow the plan, it works. Yeah, to a point. What I have found is if you just try to incorporate little things, like for instance, maybe just try to get a few pages of reading in a day, even if it's 1 over a cup of coffee, even if it's just making sure that I eat 1 vegetable a day. One of the best changes I've seen was my gym was running a challenge where it was a simple point system. You weren't trying to eat perfect. You were just trying to eat better. And it made a big difference for me over this last month. I'm sleeping better, I feel better, and I'm becoming more productive. I've also found that when you start simple habits, something as little as even 1 page of reading, you sometimes will read more than 1 page. You go into 2, you go into 3, you go into 5, you go into 10, you go into 20. But if you can only do the 1, which maybe takes you a minute or 2, you still know that you accomplished something that day. You feel better. I felt better. And if there's one thing I've learned is momentum builds momentum. And that's really my message today. Stop trying to be perfect. Do a little. And I mean really like a little. And you'd be surprised at what you can accomplish. I read a full book this month, and I finished 2 other ones that I had kind of been in the middle of and never finished. All because of these little habits. It's not that I'm some sort of prolific reader. I just sit there and I'll read a few pages here, a few pages there. Instead of grabbing my phone, read a book. To do it, take a course. Do a couple push-ups. Have a single vegetable each day. I bet you probably haven't had one lately. I know I didn't for a while, but now I am. These simple changes can lead to huge results. I'm living proof of that. And while I'm not exactly where I want to be, nor am I there as fast as I'd like, I am well on my way on a better direction, and I bet you could be too. If I can do this, trust me, you can. Fuck being perfect. Just do it for you.